Okay, I'm here with Bebe and
Boddington.
Boddington. Boddington is a good cat. We're going to give him a dog treat and get him preoccupied. All right, so Bebe is a good little dog, but her problem is at the dog park. Her guardians have been able to identify she does not like submissive or fearful dogs, and she is latched onto a couple of them. Now, obviously, we don't like that, but it's better than a dog that's latching on and shaking its head to the side. That's a much more egregious sort of interaction, but the guardians here are responsible. They don't want her to do any of these things. Right, Boddington? Yeah, you sniff that elbow. Okay, so in this video, I'm going to be kind of more talking instead of doing hands-on exercise because we can't recreate a dog park in here. Now, the guardians have stopped taking her to the dog park, which is good. That's maintenance or management, or stopping her from practicing that unwanted behavior. From talking with the guardians, it sounds like that she spent some time at a dog daycare for about 12 days, and this behavior starts shortly after that. She is not kennel trained. She doesn't like the kennel. They paid extra so she would have like a VIP suite, but it is still an enclosed room. And if she hasn't been trained to do that, that's the same thing as a crate for her. So now at daycares also, I work with daycares. Daycares can be great, but a lot of times they have way too many dogs in there for them to actually monitor the dogs properly. So it's possible that she was, there's a dog that looked a certain way that had an interaction with her or whatever. We could spend 20 minutes hypothesizing it. It's not probably going to do a lot of good, but if you are thinking about taking your dog to daycare or boarding your dog, I would probably recommend having somebody come to your home or somebody who watches the dog in their home versus a boarding facility where there's going to be 20, 30, 50 dogs. And a lot of those dogs are not kennel trained, so they bark all night long. If your dog's there for 12 days, not sleeping, dogs don't sleep very much at daycare, and a dog like her needs to sleep about 12 to 14 hours a day. Okay, so what can we do now? So what I'd recommend is the guardians start walking her dog to the dog parks that are nearby that she's not going to right now because she doesn't want her dog to do any damage. But by walking the dog there and not going inside, we can help desensitize the dog and bring down the energy level and the excitement level, because going to the dog park does not always culminate with me running around, which she loves to do, and she's good with 90% of the dogs. It's just those fearful dogs. So basically, when I'm walking there, the dog park, I'm going to describe the dog park down the street from my place in Santa Monica. So when you're going there, walk to the dog park, just walk to the powered gate, and I would maybe have her sit, use a clicker, she sits, give her a treat, and then walk a little bit further away. Yes, I'll click and treat you for coming to me. And so you're not even going to the dog park, we're walking to the dog park, but we're not actually going in the dog park. Yes, I'll give you some more. And so we get, after a while, she's like, hey, you on? We're going to the dog park. Now there's a powered gate. You press the power gate and this gate opens up. So the next thing I would do is walk to the dog park, press the power gate, it opens, sit, give her a treat, and then don't go into the air, just keep on walking. And we get to the point where she sits. If she doesn't sit, then just keep on walking. Don't ask for sit multiple times. Use the clicker outside. You can use your marker word as well, but I usually like to use a clicker outside because it's a little more distinct. So eventually, we get to the point where we can open that power gate, and then I would start walking down the dog park. So let's say that we're in the dog park and this is the power gate. So I'm going to come, sit, yep. Then I'm going to take 1 or 2 steps towards the dog park is where the camera is. Sit, whoops, sit. There you go. Don't click for that. So we're going to take a couple more steps. Sit. Now this is easy to do because there aren't 23 dogs right over there on the other side of the wall. That's good. Excuse me, that's going to be the case at the dog park. So it's going to be harder for her to listen. When you get to the point where you're getting closer and closer to the entrance to the dog park and she can't listen, don't continue going in. So once she says that I'm done, I can't listen to you anymore, if you go any further, guaranteed she's not going to be able to listen to you. She's above threshold. So what I would do is eventually you're going to maybe only take 2 steps down past the power gate, 3 steps, 4 steps. But each step I say sit, and don't reach for it. If you have one of these things, don't reach for it first. So you say sit, then reach for it, and then give it to you. If you reach here, then she'll sit anticipating that. Okay, so eventually you get to the point where we go, now there's a transition box when you go to a dog park that goes into the actual dog park itself. So what I would do is I would go to the work a way where we can go all the way up to that gate, tell her to sit, she sits, click, give her a treat. And when she can sit, and she's sitting each time or as we're walking every step, then I would go ahead and open that door. She runs in the little transition box. We're not going to go in the dog park. We're going in there. That's getting closer. Now, the closer that she gets to going inside, the harder this is going to be for her. So this might take several practice sessions. So this might be something we do on a daily walk. It takes 2 weeks before we actually get in the transition box. That's normal. That's okay. So when we get in there, then I'm going to ask her to sit, click, but the dogs are right here. The wall is right there. I can see it through the chain link fence. Oh my God, how can I possibly sit? Well, if I can't sit, then we exit. We don't go in there. We're not going further. Eventually we get to the point where we close the gate behind us. Now we're in the transition box. Sit. Take a step over here. Sit. Just do this 5, 10, 15 times, and then exit and don't go into the dog park. So again, she's just getting used to, like, now we don't go into the dog park anymore, we just go near it, and I'm gradually practicing not freaking out when I'm near the other dogs. Eventually we get to the point where I can close the door and she's kind of doing her thing, she's listening to you. Then I'm going to ask the people in the dog park, who's here today? Now there's a group of dogs that she knows that she plays with wonderfully. So when that's the case, then we can probably go in there. If there is a new dog that she hasn't met, we're going to ask our friends who are at the dog park, what's that dog's confidence like? Now, normally I'm not a fan of retractable leashes. I'm not a fan of taking dogs into a dog park on a leash. The dog park that I'm speaking at, the one down the street from where I live, is a dog park that I would feel comfortable with because it's a small community, you kind of know everybody's there. So go in there with that retractable leash. Have some treats. Again, something you normally don't do at dog parks. We're breaking a lot of rules for Bebe. And so basically, so I have a bunch of treats and I have her on maybe I give her 10 feet on the retractable leash. So I keep her close to me. Now, also on walks, I talk to the guardians to carry treats and just to basically do what we call check-ins. So we'll see if I can do it right here. So I clicked because she looked at me. I didn't ask her to look, I didn't show her I had a treat, I just waited for her to do it. So when you're on regular walks, have treats with you, have a treat in your hand at all times. As soon as she looks up at you. Now I went and gave it to her. Normally if I'm walking and she looks at me, she's at the end of the leash, I click. She's coming to me. This is a foundational thing for loose leash walking. So now she's like, step, step, look, step, step, looks. If that's the case, she'll take kibble, use her kibble for this. There's nothing wrong with feeding your dog out of training treats. So eventually it gets to the point where we're in the dog park and she knows all the other dogs there. We're giving her 12 feet and we're rewarding her every time she checks in with us. We click and hold that treat out and she's checking in and coming back to us more and more. And after maybe a minute or 2 minutes, she seems to be a little bit calmer. I take her off the leash. This is only when everybody in the dog park are these dogs that I know that she's good with. Now I'm watching the gate over here out of the back of my head. And so if I see somebody that's coming in, I'm going to say, hey, can you hold on a quick sec? That's why I want you to practice with the retractable leash. When you get there for a first minute or two, having high value treats, and she's only 12 feet away from you, she looks at you, click, you're holding the treat out. We've practiced this on the regular walks without all the other dogs there. We've built a foundation for the course of weeks of doing this. So she should be able to check in with you faster. Because right now, if somebody comes to the gate, she's so fast, we can't catch her. So we want her to come to us. And I would practice when everybody's there, lead her off the leash and let her go play. And every minute or so, when she comes back, hold out a treat, attach it to her harness, then give her the treat, and then click and give her the treat. And then take the leash off. Make it a game. So now we go to the dog park 20 or 30 times. Yep. I attach the leash and then I give you a treat. And then I take the leash back off and you can go run around. So then eventually, if I know, then we eventually want to use our come. So once we practice where she can listen to us at the dog park and she's coming up to us to get this, well, then we can tell the person in the transition box, can you hold on a sec? My dog's a little unpredictable about new dogs. I want to put him on a leash so that your dog has a good experience. People will love that. Oh, that's so considerate of you. Thank you. Yeah, Bebe, comes, attach leash, click, give her the treat. So, and I would do that, I would start that foundationally here. Pull out your leash, walk around your apartment. Bebe, she comes to you, attach leash, click, and then give her that treat. And then walk one step, take it off, and then go in your bedroom and do it all over the place. So she's just used to doing that. And then after a while, you do it at the dog park. She's comfortable doing that. So now you've got her on the leash, and then you can take her on the far side and let that other dog come in. Now, if you're not sure how that dog's gonna behave, you might even just pick her up and hold on to her and see how she does. Now, if she's biting the leash, biting your hand, she's frustrated. So if that's the case, you might need to go out of the dog park and let that dog wander around, and then you get to observe that dog and how's that dog behaving. That energy look good? Does that dog have characteristics of these other dogs that Bebe has interacted with that hasn't gone great? Well, if that's the case, then maybe we're gonna not try having her out there. Or if I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it with the dog on the retractable leash, so that way I can make sure that she's close enough that if she does start acting aggressive towards the other dog, Most of the time, not saying all, most of the time the other dog is going to stay away from her. So I can do that, but I wouldn't, if there's a dog in the dog park anywhere she's not comfortable with, I would leave. Don't, because I don't want her to practice growling at that other dog. Now, after doing this, what I would do is I would try to befriend any people that come in there with those fearful dogs. And just say, Bebe just, she had spent some time at a daycare, and after that, she's a little unpredictable with fearful dogs. Would you guys mind when you leave? Can we walk together? And maybe you go out for, how long are you guys be here? About 10 minutes? I'm going to go walk her outside. I'll be back in 10 minutes. Can we walk together as you're leaving? Most people are like, yeah, I don't care, that's fine. So keep the dogs as far apart as you need to, and let's build a positive experience of the dogs walking together. They don't have to interact, but they're practicing smelling each other, seeing each other, hearing each other, but without the pressure of having to interact. And we have them on a leash, so we know that everybody stays safe. Now, there's also something you can do, Bebe, that can create a positive association, but I don't think it's going to be really that applicable here. A lot of times I do something called click for looks. So I'm going to do this every time Bebe looks at the camera. I'm going to go ahead and click. Now I've got treats here, so she's really more interested in me. So I'm going to kind of watch her out of the corner of my eye, and I'm going to kind of explain this. So I'll explain it while we're doing this. So she's going to accidentally look where I want her to look, and when she does, I'm going to click. So imagine the camera is an actual dog. So if I tell her to look, it's hard. She doesn't know what I mean, and so she's not going to do it. So basically, this is called the engage-disengage game. So basically what it is I wait for her to look at the thing voluntarily, but she's far enough away from it where it doesn't seem to be a threat. Let me go ahead and move a little bit this way, so see if I can lure you into a different position, so you're kind of more likely to look that way. And actually, I'm going to have the guardian just lift his leg off camera. Just lift it, kick it up like you're a...
Oh, wait.
Yes. Don't click and say yes, just say yes. Go ahead and click your leg up again. Again. Yeah, you're very interested in these treats. So basically what it is when she looks at the other dog, I would click and give her a treat. The problem is, this is more for dogs that are like, I see a dog and I go bananas. She's not that sort of a dog. It's just the other dogs that are fearful. Now, a dog can smell if another dog's fearful. And sometimes that will create, some dogs are just kind of jerks to dogs that are insecure. So if that's the case, it's going to be kind of hard to help her with that. The walking together would be probably the best thing I could think of. The only other thing I think of, which probably wouldn't be too appropriate, would be to get an X pen. An X pen is 8 24-inch panels that are basically connected together. You could create a little fenced-in area, so that way she could be in there with the insecure dogs running around, but there's a fence and a barrier. Now, what I would not want her to do is pounce at it and bounce and try to get out. Then she's going to be more and more frustrated. The other thing that we could do, and this won't stop the behavior, but it will keep the other dog safe, is to muzzle train her so that she's trained wearing a muzzle. If she's wearing a muzzle, then I know that she can't do damage to the other dog with her mouth. Now, if it's a small dog, she could muzzle punch it and hurt it in other ways. But that would be something I would try to work up to potentially. And if you do want to muzzle train your dog, you need to properly introduce the muzzle. I have a dog that's muzzle trained. If I pull out the muzzle, he runs across the room and shoves his nose in it because it means he's going to get a copious amount of treats. Most people put a muzzle on, take the dog to a dangerous situation, and that creates a really bad combination. So if you do want to muzzle train your dog, let me know, and I'll be happy to share a positive muzzle training video for you. But I think for her, now she's looking there, of course. There you go. So that's the click for looks, which I don't know if it's going to be that appropriate for her. I think for her, it's just going to be setting up for success down the dog park. Now, I guess I should have started this stuff at the beginning, so you have to look at what the timestamp is and look at this stuff early. Before we take her to the dog park, let's set her up for success. Let's get her some exercise first, then let's go home and give her 10 minutes of rest. Or walk her to the dog park and then walk, if you're going to the dog park, the one that's down the street from me, go into the rec area and sit there on the grass, give her a little bit of 10 minutes of a massage. Help her reset. Most people take their dog in the dog park full of energy and they run around and they play too intensely, and that's where fights and some problems can happen. So give her some good exercise, then go to the rec center part, sit on the grass and spend 10 minutes till she relaxes. Then you can go ahead and take her into that dog park, or exercise her a little game of fetch here. Problem is the guardian walks her to the dog park, which is about an 8-minute walk, which is fine. She's in good shape, but she might be a little bit overly tired. I would also not recommend letting her play too intensely. Now that's where the retractable leash can come in handy, unless there's a lot of people milling about, because you don't want her tangling around people. But if every time her energy gets a level above level 5, above 50%, we want to take her out of the action, and we call it a treat out. So she comes over here, give her a treat, maybe do the hunt game, whatever it is. Now the hunt game probably be problematic to do in the dog park, so maybe take her outside of the dog park in the little on the pathway. But the idea is we let her energy to come back down. If we let her energy go to level 7, 8, or 9, that's where she's more likely to make mistakes. It's gonna be a lot harder for her to calm herself down. So if we can help her practice, and so she knows as soon as I exceed 50%, it's an automatic timeout, I'll keep myself at 4.9 or less. But the only caveat or thing that I'm worried about is that, oh, you're over 5, we're gonna grab you, and then that becomes a negative. So that's why it's so important that what we talked about earlier in the video, that you just hold out that treat and have her practice coming back to you, and practice putting her on the leash, attaching the leash to her harness over and over again so she's comfortable. And you can do that on walks as well. The difference is when we take her off the leash, we have another leash attached. So that way we take her off the leash, and she's maybe dragging a long leash so we can step on it if we need to, or do it in the hallway or somewhere where we're being safe. And then the idea is just, we've kind of set her up for success. Now this is not the ideal scenario, so you're gonna kind of have to play around with these elements. So text me and call me as things are going through, and like, okay, we did this, when we got into the transition box, this is what was going on, and we can make some adjustments as we need to. But I think if we take a lot of the excitement level and the energy out of there, that's gonna help her practice at a less intense level. And then if we're just mindful of the people who are coming and going, and when people are there that have a dog that's like that, that's fearful, if we can, keep her on our lap and just give her treats while she's looking at that fearful dog. But if she's doing any reacting, don't ever say no, just take her away from her. A lot of times the dogs growl, like, no, bad dog. Well, now I'm getting punished. This little insecure dog comes around and I get punished. She's not going to realize I'm being punished because I'm acting aggressive to this other dog. Instead, just all she wants to do is she wants more distance between her and that dog. You can accomplish that just by walking her away. Bebe. Well, this is my buddy Bebe, and let's turn you around so we can see how handsome you are. Well, I should say beautiful, because you are brown, so I kind of assigned a male to you. But this is my buddy Bebe. And these are some tips and tricks you can use if you have a dog that plays a little bit inappropriately with dogs at a dog park.